fintech application like a cryptocurrency app or a banking app, then you put some data into it. You put the current rate of the cryptocurrency or your current how much of the coins you have right now, and then you kind of track the value of the coins over an extended period of time. But at the end of it, it is still data. Similarly, if you think of Spotify, all you have to do with Spotify is it stores data in the form of your favorite songs, your playlists, your year-end roundup, all of that is data. So no matter what app you build, the basic things that you do with that app is you store data, you make interesting connections between the data, and then you ask interesting questions of the data. So for example, if you think of an Amazon cart, you are storing, the website stores all the possible things that you can buy and the price value and who bought what and when. And then you make connections between the data in terms of your profile or your order history. And then you ask interesting questions of your data, like how much did you spend on Amazon in a month? So basic functions of any app is storing data, making connections between the data, and then asking interesting questions of the data. And the way to do that is through a database. Database is the component of an application that stores the data, helps you make connections and ask questions. There are many ways in which you can do that. But the traditional way or the most frequently used way is a relational database. Now, a relational database stores data in terms of rows and columns of tables, and it makes connections between the tables through the primary key and the foreign key. And the language to talk to a relational database is SQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. So let's break down each of those components. It is a language that you can use to talk to the database. It is a language that helps you query, that is, ask questions of the database. And it is a query language for structured data, because relational databases are structured databases. SQL is one of the most human readable languages out there. So it translates well to like English. So if you think of a question in English, you have different components of the statement, right? You have the auxiliary verb, you have the subject, you have the verb, object, and the punctuation mark. And you can replace any of these components to form so many more sentences. So English basically has some primary components, and the permutation combination of those components is what makes English so powerful as a human language. Similarly, for SQL, SQL's basic components are keywords, identifiers, and conditions. And you can replace keywords, you can replace identifiers, you can replace conditions, and the permutation combination of all of them is what makes SQL a very powerful language. But what makes SQL a very powerful language also makes it a very overwhelming language. So for this workshop, we are going to focus on the essential SQL statements, the basic statements that you need to be able to manipulate data within a SQL database. And the essential SQL statements can be categorized into two buckets. The first set of statements helps you manage a database. And then the second set of statements helps you interact with the database, with the data that you have added to the database. So again, going back to the first principles, if you think about what would you need to manage a database, you need a way to create it. You need a way to use it, like tell the system that this is a database that you want to use. You want to see what's within the database. You want to somehow change the database, and then you want to delete the database. So each of these statements, create, use, show, alter, and drop, correlate to the basic things that you would need to do to manage a database. And once you have the database admin done, then you can focus on the interaction with the data part, which is insert data into the database, read data, update data, and delete data. Now, all of this was a lot of theory that I just rambled through, but theory is boring. So let's get some practice. So the thing we're going to use today is called the SQL Playground. Let me know if you can access that link, and you can follow along here. I saw someone raise their hand. Do you have a question?
So I just had a question about the interface. So right now it says like partial outage on the site, and I was just trying to get the link to connect to the database. So we were like trying to use Cockroach DB, but seems like there's an outage, and that's why we are not able to get the connect command from the website.
Yeah, the SRE team's working on it. If you don't want to spend time troubleshooting Cockroach Cloud right now, you feel free to use Cockroach DB locally in your app.
Oh, okay, that works. Thank you.
Sure. And then I just posted the links. I can post them again. Oh, sorry. I didn't post them to everyone. I'm so sorry. I thought I did. Let me know once you can access the links, and then I can walk you through what you're seeing right now. Chat. Okay, I'm going to assume everybody can access the link. So what we're going to use for this workshop is something we called the SQL Playground. Oh, wait. Where did this? I think somebody else posted it. Yeah. So SQL Playground is something that our docs team built to help new users use Cockroach DB and learn SQL. So we didn't want you to spend time setting up the cluster, and because we only have 30 minutes for this workshop. So this is a built-in Cockroach DB cluster that we can use for to try things out. And it comes with a database loaded into it, and the database is called Mover. But Mover is a little like it's an advanced database. It's not very beginner friendly. So we are going to create our own database that is super beginner friendly for this workshop. So, and I posted the Notion link that you can use to do it with me and follow along if you'd like to. So the first thing we are going to do is create the database. And for this workshop, we are going to create a database of all the dogs at Cockroach Labs. They are my favorite part about working at Cockroach Labs, and I miss all of them. And I want to keep track of where they are in the world so I can go visit them when I go to their cities. And that's what we are going to build in this workshop. So that's what I'm telling the system to do is I'm telling the system to create a database called dogs at CRL. And we see that it created that database. But even though I created the database, the system is still using Mover. And that's because I haven't told the system to switch over to the new database that we created. So that is step 2, is to tell the system to use the database that we just created. And now you can see it changed over to the new database. Let me know in chat if you're following along. Should I continue? Or should I wait?
I think you're probably good, Dick.
Okay. Now that we have created our database and told the system to use that database, we can create a table within the database. Nope, that's not the command though. The command to create a table is, again, it's very human readable. Create a table called dogs with these parameters. So I'm telling the system to create a table with 4 columns. The first column is an ID, and I want that ID to be unique, and I want it to always have a value and not be null. I want the second column named string for the dog's name, the third column to also be a string column for the human that belongs to the dog, and the fourth one is the location where the dog's located. And then to make sure that the system actually did what I told it to do, we run the show tables command, and we can see that there is a table called dogs in the database. But I also want to track what's the dog's favorite treat, so that when I visit them, I can take their favorite treat with me. So I'm going to use the alter table command to add one more column to the database. So the alter table, table name, and add column, column name. Pretty simple. Okay, I'm going to wait here for 2 minutes and let you catch up if you have it already. To recap what we did so far, we did the first column of statements. We did the database admin part. We created a database. We told the system to use a database. We told the system to show us what's within the database. And we used the alter statement to change this database schema. We won't drop the database yet, but we did the management part. And now we'll move on to the interaction part. I'm assuming everybody's following along. So I'm going to start inserting things into the database now. And the way to do that, nope. Why isn't it copy pasting? Ow. Come on. There we go. Nope. What's happening? There we go. Thank you. Okay, so the way to do that is to use the insert statement, and the command is to insert into table name and then specify the columns that you want to insert data into, and then the values keyword, and then the values that you want to insert. And the way we are doing this right now is we are inserting multiple values in the same statement. The reason for doing that is that it helps database performance if you use a multi-insert. So that's what we did. We just specified the table name that you wanted to insert the values into, the column names, and then all the values. But if you notice, we did not insert values for the new column that we created. We did not insert values for the favorite treat of the dog. So that's how you pick and choose what columns you want to insert into and what columns you want to leave out for an insert statement. And to make sure that we did insert the right things, we can use a select statement and see that, yeah, we do have 3 rows inserted into the table. And I also specified the where condition to limit the data. So this is the most important clause of a select statement, because if you do select star, then it will return all the values in the table. And it wouldn't matter right now because it's like a really, really small table. But if you have a table with millions of rows and then you don't specify the where clause, then the performance just tanks. So the specifying the right where clause and specifying the right condition is what would affect the performance of the database. So for now, I am going to select star from docs and see that this is actually all the values that we inserted into it. And you can see that the locations for all of the docs right now is New York because they were based in New York a year ago, but now everybody is working from home. So I want to update the locations for all of them to work from home. So the statement for that is update table name, set the new condition, the new location, and then the condition that we wanted to match. And to make sure that it actually worked, again, use the select statement, and it worked. And the final data manipulation thing is deletion. So this is the step that always breaks my heart, but PT is a really good friend, so I'm sure she wouldn't mind. I'm going to delete PT's entry from the table. And as expected, we don't see PT's entry anymore. So that's the second part of the SQL, essential SQL statements is we learned how to insert data, how to read data, update data, and delete data. Any questions so far? The chat is so quiet, it's freaking me out.
Yeah, if people are too reluctant to speak, they can just also use the emote stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems they're very quiet. Very shy bunch.
I know. All good. Okay. So the rest of the slides just kind of capture what we did right now. These are the two basic set of statements that we did. The database that we just created, though, is like very simple. It just has one database, one table with 3 rows, but that's now how databases work in the real world. So if you want to have more slightly advanced SQL practice, we have a database called Mover, which is a database or like a fictional app for a vehicle sharing company that we created to demonstrate CockroachDB's feature. So if you go back to the SQL Playground and you look at the original database that was loaded for us, you can see that that database mover had 6 tables, and they are all interconnected through the primary keys and foreign keys. So you can go look at the documentation for mover. I'll post it in the Slack channel to see a more complicated schema of how databases are used in the real world. And if you want to try more, like you want to try interacting with Mover, we have this very handy tutorial that helps you, that guides you through the basic SQL statements that we just saw, but on a more complex schema. So I'm going to link all of these in the chat right now. We don't have time to go through it right now, but I just want to make you aware of the resources that exist that you can go and try after the workshop. And my final resource that I want to share with you is the SQL Murder Mystery. It's my absolute favorite resource to learn SQL. So if you are interested in learning more about SQL, highly recommend going through this tutorial as well. This is not a CockroachDB asset. This is a third-party asset, but it's my favorite. So just letting you know that exists. And then the final way to learn more SQL is obviously to build an app. And the easiest app to build is a to-do app. And why? Because it involves all the CRUD operations. You have to create a task, read it, update it, delete it. Once you have the basic to-do app ready, then you can reskin it to make it into a songs playlist or a books database or a notes app. And there are many resources available for building to-do apps. And it can also be an excellent starting point to build other skills like learning user management or building global applications. So the recommended paths of learning SQL is try the thing that we did right now, try the absolute basic essential statements, then figure out how to work with slightly advanced schemas with the Mover app. Once you're done with that, then do the murder mystery tutorial and then build your own app. And if you need help along the way, we have getting started courses at Cockroach University that you can check out. And you can also join our Slack channel. Can you share Google Slides, please? I thought I did. No, I didn't. You're right. Okay. This should be accessible. That's all I had for you today. Let me know if you have questions. You have like 5 more minutes for questions. The slides have all the resources that I talked about, so definitely go check them out. What's the narrative challenge? Excellent question. I love the narrative challenge. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute because I need to go find it. The narrative challenge is something we designed to help you learn Cockroach DB in a fun way. So it's a challenge where you defeat the big bad evil guy to earn shine stones by using Cockroach Cloud along the way. It's one of my favorite things I've ever worked on. At the end of the day, it's just a fun tutorial.
Hey Amrita, I was trying to, do the narrative tutorial and I got stuck into one of the stages. So I am on Windows, and when I copy and paste the connection string, it always says that it cannot find environment variable. But
yeah, can you ping me on Slack? There is a different path setting you need to do for Windows. I think I can help you with that.
Okay, sure, for sure. Thank you.
Yep. It's a tutorial for Cockroach DB. It uses a web app with TypeScript. So it basically helps you understand how to use a database with your web app. Sure. Yeah, I guess this is another resource I should add to the slides. It's really fun. Let me know what you think of it. If you don't have any questions, we can end here because you only have 2 days for this hackathon, so I'm a little worried for you. So go work on your apps. Cool. Thanks for joining, everyone. Good luck with the apps. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.